Nations have had their differences over how to keep our planet cool, but the need to act, well, that's something they've long agreed on. World leaders did that back in 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, signing up to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Even in the 90s, they recognised through this international treaty that climate change was a problem, that human activity was the driving force, and that we all need to act. But what the treaty didn't address was how to reconcile the different interests of every nation on this planet. So every year since 1995, the Conference of the Parties to that treaty, what we now refer to as the COP, have come together to try to work it all out. Thousands of observers have joined them. There's been debate, negotiation, a lot of science, a lot of jargon, and some major disagreements, which makes the deal in Paris in 2015 all the more remarkable. Countries united behind limiting warming this century to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, ideally 1.5. They pledged to reduce emissions, and developed nations committed to a $100 billion a year fund by 2020 to help poorer nations adapt and develop in a planet-friendly way. Last year, they agreed to most, though not all, of the rules on how to do it, all with an eye on 2020 when they will lay bare what they've done and plan to do to cut emissions, which is why what happens in 2019 really matters. If rich nations fail to deliver on that $100 billion climate finance, it could revive disputes with developing nations over emissions. If countries fail to agree on carbon trading rules whereby polluters pay for their emissions, it could interrupt the world's transition to clean energy. And if nations fail to commit to new, more ambitious pledges, well, that could undermine faith in the COP itself. Donald Trump's plan to pull the United States out of the Paris Agreement late next year isn't helping, and carbon emissions are still on the rise. But as it stands, every nation is at the table, and politicians are still being confronted by the science, no matter how unpalatable some may find it. The Earth warmed by 0.5 degrees Celsius in the 20 years after that first COP meeting in 1995. But despite its imperfections, the COP is the only multilateral climate forum we have where nations can work on their differences. And right now, the future of our planet depends on it.